It is a scam when you don't allow everyone to operate on fair terms.
We are the Robin Hoods of sports betting. We take something back from the rich bookies and enable our customers to beat them instead.
G'day everyone, welcome along to episode 101 of the TradeMate Sports Betting Podcast. This time we're going to be doing a betting preview of the weekend's Premier League action, also looking at the Serie A League and the Bundesliga. As you can see, I am joined by Nigel Seeley from Premier Sports Plays once again. How are you, mate?
Easy for you to say, Alex. Easy for you to say. Yeah, I'm very well, mate. Very well. He's bottled again, isn't he? The young apprentice.
Yeah,
He's
well, I mean,
knew the competition was on. Phoned up with a toothache. I mean, come on, what a lame excuse that is. Toothache.
If only everyone got to see Nigel's reaction when I told George he would have to pull out with a toothache today.
The thing is, though, when he talks all his stats, he gives me earache, but I don't pull out.
Well, yeah, I mean, you do have a few kids, mate, so we know about that also. How's the break been, mate? I mean, you've probably still been working, but
well, more importantly, how's the break for you? I see on Twitter there's love is in the air and wedding bells. Do I need to go and get a suit for the wedding? Do I need to get some shorts with the invite? No?
Yeah, I mean, pick a few more winners, mate. You know, pick that record up and you might get an invite.
But, I think George is upset and hasn't turned up because you asked me to be the best man instead of him. So the speech will be good. The speech will be good.
Well, I didn't want to say that maybe it wasn't a toothache. Maybe I just had to break the news to him, and he's run a mile away. So, mate, today what we'll do actually, while people are on the stream and they're just joining, and I guess I can explain throughout, but George has sent me his picks for this week, so it must be a pretty legit toothache if he's gone to all the effort and he's just unable to talk. So I'll do my best to share his picks in between Nigel's picks today. But yeah, since we are live, which is a bit of a rarity, feel free to send any questions or comments throughout the stream. And also, give us a like, subscribe to the channel if you're around for the first time. It is hugely appreciated. Format, as always, we'll go through kind of the game of the round, which it's a bit of a weird week in terms of the scheduling. I mean, the game of the round's tonight. So we'll go through the Thursday night game between Manchester United and Liverpool, and then our other games will go through are kind of scattered from basically tonight up until I think Sunday or Saturday. So if you are listening now, then I would be just take note of what day these fixtures are being played, because if you then rewatch tomorrow or something, you might have missed a few. But quiz question for the week: which player in the EPL has missed the most big chances this season, Nigel? And I'll give you a few options that we can. I'll give you the options at the back end of the podcast, because I'd rather people maybe not comment what they think the answer is. Maybe at the end we can do a quiz question for everyone, and everyone can comment their answers and see what people think. Maybe they'll do the old Google like you like to do, mate.
I've got one that has come to mind straight away. Just one person, I think. But the person, he's got to be someone who plays quite a lot. For obviously, it's not someone who's missed a lot of the season. So it's someone who's a regular starter, who's played a lot of minutes. Just one person I've just thought of.
Okay, well, here we go. I'm excited, mate. All right, game of the round in the EPL. That is tonight, Manchester United versus Liverpool. I'll get the odds up on my screen for you all now, courtesy of Odds Checker. Liverpool, you can get them around 2.4, 2.45 best odds. Man United, 2.8, 2.9, something around there. And draw 3.7 at a few bookies, as you can see there. Man United have second place well and truly sewn up with their biggest game now, the Europa League final, which I believe is about 2 weeks away. And they will have a completely different side for this one, you would think, Nigel, after they, essentially flip their team on its head for the Leicester game. Liverpool, still a mathematical chance of making the top four, but they essentially need to win just about every game until the end of the season. I guess my first question for you, mate, is it's hard. How much weight do you put into the fact that Manchester United basically have nothing to play for except for getting prepped for that European final, and then Liverpool, on the other hand, have lots to play for, even though the top 4 placings are looking pretty unlikely at this point?
Well, you say pretty unlikely. The 3 games after this are winnable. They play West Brom, they play Burnley, and they play Crystal Palace at home in the final day of the season. I mean, really, Liverpool should win all those 3 matches. And if you look at Leicester, who are obviously in the position that Liverpool want to get in, their running is very, very tough. I mean, they've got an FA Cup final as well. So they've just beaten Manchester United, but they played Chelsea and Tottenham in their last 2 games. And Leicester have problems at home. And one of those last games of the season, they're at home to Tottenham. So it's not conceivable that Liverpool could nick that spot, but they've got to win every single game. I think this game didn't really have much of an edge to it because of, obviously, when it was originally played, I don't think there was much edge to it because of, despite all the history between the 2 of them and probably the biggest fixture in the Premier League history, and obviously in English football, these are the biggest 2 clubs. But I think what Manchester United did by putting that reserve side out has really made this game quite an edgy match now. And I think Liverpool will want to go there and really, really do the business on Manchester United. I personally think Liverpool have been massively underperforming in the last few weeks. Obviously, they went that terrible run at home, but they were creating chances. I mean, we spoke about it before, the amount of chances they've created, but how many goals they've actually scored. And I've always said that Liverpool, before now and the end of the season, I think they'll click and they'll beat a side 3 or 4. But I think that maybe be Crystal Palace on the final day of the season, who've got nothing to play for. With regards to this game, everything really hinges on the starting 11 that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer picks. And judging by the move towards Manchester United in the last 24 hours, you would suggest that Solskjaer will go with a fairly decent side for this match. The question is motivation, as you say, with a cut of the Europa League final. But it is 2 weeks away. That's the other thing you got to remember. It's 2 weeks away. I think that you have to take a lot into consideration of teams that are trying this another season, but obviously not silly prices. I mean, there was Manchester United. If Liverpool started off, say, for example, even money or odds on for this game, then you would probably swerve it. You wouldn't have a bet. But I think at the prices now, I mean, what you've got the odds on in front of you there, Alex. What price are Liverpool now? About 2.56 or something like 2.6 or something like that, was it?
Yeah, you can get about 2.5 in some places. Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably a little bit of a bet. But I would, how I would play this game personally, I would play it in running. I would watch the first 10, 15 minutes, see what intensity Manchester United are playing with, and then possibly bet Liverpool, because we know that Liverpool are going to be playing with huge intensity. And the other thing I would do is, I know we're probably not going to get the line we want, but I'd rather bet with confidence on the Manchester United team when it's announced, rather than have a second guess on what the price is now. So, for example, if he does rest 3 or 4 players and Liverpool get bet into 2.36, I'd rather take Liverpool at a lower price, knowing that Manchester United aren't taking it so seriously, rather than take the price now. And if he puts out a full strength side, we could be betting something that could start 2.7. So I would wait, but I do have a small lean towards Manchester United, so towards Liverpool at the prices.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a very, very strange time at the moment, isn't it? And we just had a question come through from Pablo. I can't really see his name. It's Bostillo, I think his last name is. And he asked quite a good question, actually. He says, if there is a bookmaker that offers a lower commission, or I guess people might refer to it as the VIG or the margin on a match than Pinnacle, does that imply that their odds are better adjusted? I don't know if you'd agree with me, Nigel, but they obviously have the lowest commissions or VIGs normally on matches, and the true odds of Pinnacle are a pretty good way, especially on football of non-VIG odds.
Yeah, on the bookmakers, they're head and shoulders above everyone, and they are the ones who bet to the lowest margin. So yes, but obviously you can bet on the exchanges which are offered to very low margin as well, hardly any percentage if you is available to you wherever you are based geographically. But the trouble with the betting exchanges now, compared to when they started many years ago, the liquidity on some of these matches, especially in the things I bet in League One, League Two, is non-existent. There isn't any liquidity anymore in those if you wanted to have a bet. And when I'm talking no liquidity, I'm talking if you wanted to have a couple of £100, not a couple of thousand. Some of these markets just aren't there anymore. So, yes, I would answer both questions that you answered there, Pablo, would be a yes from me.
All right. Awesome, mate. To summarise on the Manchester United-Liverpool game, you're thinking an in-play bet there. Nothing in terms of the over-under line interests you here, mate?
It goes to that funny time of the season. Manchester United historically don't really score many goals at home. The bigger games between the top sides of Manchester United played have gone unders, but we're at that stage of the season where overs are cashing because a lot of teams are sort of playing with less fear. Everything is done and dusted in the Premier League, but everything is taken into the price. So the overs, you're betting a lot lower now overs than you will this weekend than you would do, what you should do really. So I don't think so. No, I purely believe that Liverpool could be the value in this game in play. We'll just watch how Manchester United start. We'll watch to see, if the players are really going in for it. I do think it'll be quite a fiery game, though. I think there could be a few. I mean, I'm not a card expert like George, but I do think just if you look at what Manchester United did against Leicester has really, really rattled Liverpool. And I think they come here absolutely pumped in a game they have to win. And I think it could be quite a fiery game. So there could be a few cards, but I'm no expert to my look at the game. But I do believe that Liverpool could represent some value in this match if we, as we expect, Manchester United to rest a few players and put a weakened side out.
George has had a positive effect on you, mate. He's got you thinking cards. Look at this.
Well, I look at every angle. They call me the protractor. I look at every single angle there is in the betting market.
Oh, you're an absolute disgrace, mate. You're just horrible. All right, and you're covering. Sorry,
call me horrible. And
you're covering this game live too, aren't you, mate? On is it VSIN?
Yeah, I'm doing the betting commentary tonight on it, which is an in-play betting show that goes across North America. So I'm doing the commentary on that this evening. I'll send the link out if anybody wants to listen to that. It's quite good listen, actually. Have you listened to it, Alex?
No, sorry, mate. I'm asleep. At least you put me to sleep.
Yeah, you're making romantic meals and on your knees proposing to young ladies rather than listen to me. I hope the Manscaped kit's coming handy, mate.
All right. Shout out to Manscaped. It was the only reason she said yes, mate. All right. Let's Aston Villa versus Everton, mate. That's your first pick that you're looking at today yourself. Mate, where do you want to take me on this one?
Well, I mean, the price I bet has gone a little bit. So I still think it represents a little bit of value. I think Aston Villa have gone, really. I think if you look at their performance data, it's dropped massively. They've had no Jack Grealish. Obviously, the influence of him is awful to see. Being linked with other clubs, may have played his last game for Aston Villa. And Villa at home in recent weeks just haven't been performing. And then when you look at Everton, their away form has been absolutely phenomenal. They've been scoring goals. They've been winning, but the XG hasn't been that great. If you look at Everton's data, it's quite low, but they've been getting the results, and that's because they keep opponents to very little goal attempts. The one thing about Everton, though, is that they're at full strength. Calvert-Lewin scoring, McCarlison looking confident, and I think they're a very different side when they're at full strength. At certain parts of this season, they've missed about 6 or 7 key players, and obviously their performance data affected when those players weren't playing. But now they're at full strength, and out of the two sides, they do have the need. There is a glimpse of hope that they can make the Europa League, but I think they've got a great chance here. And also the big thing for me for Aston Villa is that Aston Villa are without Ollie Watkins, their centre forward and their goal scoring threat. Yeah. He's suspended tonight, so if you take him out of the side and you take out Sir Jack Grealish as well, where are they going to score from? Where are they going to create chances? I don't think they can. They can score as many goals here. And I think Villa look a side already who are spent for the season. It's been a very long season for Villa. It was a long season for them. They were in relegation trouble when we scheduled at the end of this time last year when we come back after the COVID in last season, and they fought the way out of the relegation battle. They've exceeded expectations. They've had a great season, but I do think Everton will be too strong here without those two key players. And I've taken Everton on the draw no bet, which was, I bet it at 1.91 on, when did I bet it? I bet it at, it was 1.92 with Bet365, but it was a general 1.91, 1.9. But it's now down to about 1.86, I believe. But I do think that's the bet. I can see Villa resting a few players tonight and giving some kids an opportunity. They've got some very talented kids, Aston Villa. Their youth system is very good, and they put some very talented kids out in the FA Cup against Liverpool. It was, and I think they'll put a few kids out here. So I think team news for Villa will be crucial, and I think Everton will be full strength tonight, and I think Everton with something to play for with the draw no bet is the bet, and their road form is fantastic. Everton in recent weeks, and Aston Villa's home form has dropped considerably.
So would you? I'm just looking around at some prices now, and I think you could get about 1.8, maybe a little bit more than that. What's kind of the lowest you think you would go on Everton draw no bet?
I looked on Betfair. It was 185 a minute ago. Was it? I don't know. Is that gone?
Yeah, Unibet 1.82, and I'm just having a look at the trade, mate. Game Center, you can get Betfair, Sorry,
I think Betfair. I think Betfair may be down, but on the exchange,
1.83 maybe.
Yeah, 1.83. I would go anything above 1.8. I would, but I've already taken 1.92, so I think they'll win it, and I still believe that the price will shorten because I expect Villa to put out some kids.
Yeah. Okay. Well, awesome, mate. And I just noticed that these teams only played each other. Is it 2 games ago? A game
2 weeks ago? 2-1 to Everton to Villa. But that was Everton at home are dreadful, and also you've got to remember that Ollie Watkins isn't playing, and he was probably the best player in that game as well. So I wouldn't look too much into that.
All right, awesome. And your best mate's joined. He can't talk, but he certainly can type, and he loved your little protractor one-liner there, mate.
Well, he comes on for he not only comes on to listen to what the experts say and the bloke with more experience, in the business and arguably say his mentor, I have to say. But what he comes on for one-liners and chats. So when he goes out, he can try and chat some females, some jokes and stuff like that. I'm here to help everybody, but why can't he come on? I can't come on. He's got toothache. He can type. He can send in bets. Listen, that's not professional. Not professional.
He can do everything except talk, that man.
George is doing Premier Sports Play's Copa America coverage this summer. If there's any excuses about toothache, he'd be getting the old Evo.
Yeah. Everton or draw and under 3.5 goals here from Ricardo Silva. Thoughts on that, mate?
Well, I like the Everton and draw section. The 3.5 goals, yes, you would turn around and say yes. Without Aston Villa's goal scoring threat, you would think that their goals are going to dry up. It'll be Everton goals. But like I say, if you bet an under 2.5 and under 3.5 goals in the last couple of games of the Premier League season, you're going to be in for a very scary time. If this was played 6 weeks ago with these kind of players missing, I would say yes, definitely, Ricardo. That is the bet. But I just feel that the end of the season, goals go up by about 0.3 per game. And it's dangerous to play under. So it may be, but if you do, just play it with a little bit of caution. Just go for the Everton and draw rather than be clever and get the under, in my opinion. But I can see where you're coming from, but also that comes with dangers as well.
All right. Love it, mate. We are going to move on to George's first pick, the man who can't talk, but he can type. Southampton versus Fulham. I've got the glasses out, mate. I'm ready to go. Here's my best, George. I hope you like it, mate. Southampton versus Fulham. The Saints are safe and welcome a relegated and downbeat Fulham side. Mitrovic said, who's a Fulham player. I'll introduce that for you, George. Our performance this season wasn't good enough. We didn't deserve to stay up. Quite a damning assessment there from Mitrovic. Fulham have won just twice against sides in the bottom half this season, and have actually fared better against top half teams. The Cottagers have won just 3 of their 17 away games this season, with only 4 of those seeing 3 or more goals. Saints, on the other hand, home games have only seen 3 or more goals in 8 out of 17 matches. So that's at about 47%. With little to play for now, he's not expecting a classic one, but he is favouring the home side in this one. He has picked out Southampton, and maybe we can get your thoughts on this too. He thinks that he's got them priced at about 1.75. George does, but as you will see on my screen here, Southampton are at as high as 2.05 in some places, and he also is expecting, I guess, a dour affair, like I mentioned before, under 2.5 goals at 1.8. Also, I don't know if it's at 1.8 or that's the odds he picked out. So. I can get that up for you. But any thoughts early days on this one from George, Nigel?
Well, he makes a good case, and I can understand the case he's making. The problem with Fulham is they've got a manager who's quite looking to move on, and he's a manager that's been linked with Tottenham. He's a manager who potentially could be a candidate for Crystal Palace. He's a manager who's got a good CV despite his side really disappointing this season. And I don't know whether he will want that side to go down with a whimper. I think he wants to keep his stock high. If he gets beat 4-0 by Southampton and he gets beat at the final day of the season and it gets another drubbing, then Scott Parker.
Scott Parker. Are they chasing Scott Parker, those clubs? Scott
Parker's the second favourite to be the next Tottenham manager. And Scott Parker... If Roy Hodgson goes at Crystal Palace, which there was talk that he moves upstairs, then I think Scott Parker could be the favourite for that job.
Is that a surprise to you?
Well, I think with him, he ticks every single box as a young football manager. He looks good, he dresses well, he talks well, but the only box he doesn't tick is he can't manage football team. but that's the truth. But I interviewed him once when he was about 14. He was over in England. I was working for the Racing Post newspaper, and his dad bet him to play for England. And he was a 14-year-old kid in a McDonald's advert doing flick-ups and stuff. And I went to interview him once. It shows my age. But yeah, I think he's a proud man, and I think that the talk of Fulham lying down in this game won't happen. The only problem is, and I do agree with George, and is they played again. They get in the game in midweek against. I can't remember who it was now. They lost 2-0. Who did they lose to? Burnley, was it? Yeah, I think it was Burnley. They lost 2-0 to Burnley, and that game they needed to win to survive, stay in the Premier League, and they offered nothing. And that was a match that they needed to stay and needed to give everything to stay in the Premier League. And they couldn't find a way to break them down. Mitrovic was useless. The balls were coming into the box and he just couldn't get the end of them. He offered nothing. He didn't look fit. And the players that come on really didn't do anything. And he changed his system up. At the beginning of the season, they were losing 3-0, 4-0, 4-2, goals going in left, right and centre defensively. He shored up the defence. And the football that Fulham have played in recent weeks has been pretty dire. So, yeah, I could see that. I could see Southampton were excellent against Crystal Palace. I wouldn't go as far as to say that, 1.7 is the price. But I do see where George is coming from. And I do expect to be a market move towards them because there is this sort of belief that Fulham won't try. But I just think with Scott Parker very keen to be a Premier League manager, and he's going to be in quite a good position at Fulham. He'll want money, and if the board don't give it, he could probably get another job in that lower half of the Premier League. That I think they will put a performance. So, I could probably play the unders and probably play Fulham, but not for much for me. Not much as much in the price, I think, as what George thinks.
All right, too easy. We'll move on, mate. Back to your next pick. You're taking me to France.
Yeah, I've got two in France. I mean, the French football this season has been quite good for me, actually. And the German league has been quite good. The Italian and the Spanish just haven't really been. I couldn't really get a hand on all season. But the French league is it's quite good. And really, it's because there's a couple of teams in France who are just absolutely dreadful. And one of them, the worst team in France by a mile, is Dijon. I mean, they haven't cut the mustard all season. They haven't. But they're absolutely the worst side in France by a distance. They've been relegated. They were relegated months ago in terms of their position. Their goal XG is just horrendous. Probably one of the worst in European football. If you look at how many chances they score, how many chances they concede, they've conceded 69 goals this season, and conceded 18 goals in their last 5 matches. They've started to play a lot of kids, so looking to build for next season, try to get back into the French league. And unlike in England, especially in France and Italy, when a team is relegated, they usually down tools and just put out kids and don't really try. And that is what's happened with Dijon. Last week they were battered by Angers 3-0. That was their 16th loss in their last 17, and they've won just once in their last 20 matches. Now they play a Nantes team here, who 4 weeks ago you would have said we're going down with them, but they've won their last 3 matches against Strasbourg, Bordeaux, and Stade Brest, and that has given them a real lifeline. If they win this game, they're out of the relegation zone. Currently, they're in the bottom 3 with 1 game to go, but there's teams above them. They've closed the gap to 1 point now. But they've won their games in some style as well. Their XG has been very, very impressive, and they've been scoring goals. I mean, I think they've scored something like 9 goals in their last 3 matches. Yeah, 9 goals in their last 3 games. All 3 wins, back-to-back, all 3 successive wins. So they really, really, really turned their season on the head. They're managed by the former French manager, Dominici, who's a decent manager. He's had problems, but he's a decent manager at this level. And I think going to Dijon, who have absolutely nothing to play for, who have literally given up for the last 2 months and lost all those games, 16 losses in 17 against a side that, if they win, who are playing well, if they win, they go out of the bottom 3 with 1 game to go. You've got to bet Nantes to win this game. Now, obviously, they're very short. They're like 1.4 to win the game, which is too short. But I think it'll win. But a lot of people don't want to bet a 1.4 shot away from home. But I do think, and it's probably again on the sort of the cusp of what you would bet here. But I think 1.66 on Nantes minus 1 goal on the Asian handicap, which means if they win by 1 goal, it's a push. You get your money back. It's a phenomenal bet because all they've got to do is win. The only reason I won't go for the 1.5 or the 1.25 is because it doesn't really matter to Nantes if they win 4, 5, 6, 7. As long as they win and get 3 points, the chances are other results will go for them and they will go out the bottom half. So I would have, some people have said to me, well, why don't you take the 1.5 or we can only get the 1.25? I wouldn't probably bet that, because if it was 1-0, I would have got the right angle, but I would have been, they could win 2 or 3, but there's no reason for them to go out and win 2 or 3. So I think Nantes minus 1 at 1.66 is a cracking bet. Yeah,
okay. I'm just having a look at some odds. Because you can get better than that at a few places. So 1.7 at Daffabet, SBO bet. So the Asian bookies there. But yeah, 1.68, 188 bet tips.
I would go down. If you can get bigger than, I wouldn't take any lower than 1.66. But the reason I like that bet is if they win, it's a push, and Dijon get beat every week. I mean, you look at their goal XG, Alex. They must be the most worst performing side in European top flight football by some distance. And It's not only they don't create anything, but they against the goal XG against is in the high 3s every single game they play. And against a side that has scored 9 goals in 3 games, who are fighting for their life, and they've got decent forwards, and not they've got some decent players up front, who are really giving it a go to stay out and need to win. I think minus 1 is the worst case scenario is a push. I just cannot see anything other than a not win.
All right, terrific, mate. Well, I will get over to George's pick now. I'm just losing you hearing wise. Can you just talk for 1 sec?
Yes, you go. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I've got you now. Sorry, mate. Genoa versus Atalanta is George's second match that he wants to go through today. A win here pretty much guarantees Atalanta's place in the UCL or Champions League next season, as they have a much superior goal difference to the 5th placed Juventus, who welcome Inter Milan this weekend. Atalanta have won 10 of their 18 away games this season and are averaging 2.4 goals per game overall. Both teams have scored in around 67% of their away matches this season. Genoa have guaranteed their place in the top flight for next season and have scored in their last 9 games. Both teams have scored in 78% of Genoa's home games this season. Both teams have scored in 78% of Genoa. Okay, yep, that makes sense to me now. All right, so the pick, I know I'm just completely botching this, and I'm sorry, George, for disrespecting these beautiful write-ups so badly, but he's going to go with here, both teams to score and an Atalanta win, and he quite likes, well, at least he's gone for Bet365 here because it is a bet builder. So he's saying you can get 2.4 in odds or 7 over 5 fractional odds, however that works. So that is George's second pick for today. Any thoughts on that, mate? You've been following the Serie A much?
I've got no idea what you just said, but I lost you. I've got absolutely no idea what you're talking about. I'd rather Georgia with toothache than you trying to actually go through that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not a script reader, mate. I just like to go off the cuff.
Atalanta games have always got goals. Genoa last night, I bet Genoa last night they won away from home, which is a good result for us. The only problem is for goals point of view as well. Genoa are safe now from relegation, so they could throw the shackles off and have a decent game. And Atalanta obviously need to win, so wouldn't disagree with that. The trouble with me is that I only play Asian handicaps and total goals and winner markets because of for the liquidity side of things. So, for that kind of bet, I don't think I'd be able to bet it for the stake I want. But if you can, then great. But George has done the homework. Who's to disagree with him, and he makes a good case, and I agree with him. I think that'll probably cash.
All right, nice. And we've got Ricardo here floating a little accumulator. He's saying my banker bet of the week and is Nantes. Or how do you pronounce it, mate? You don't
Nantes.
Yeah, just go with what you say, mate. I can't pronounce any of these French names. And Lille at 190. Any thoughts on that little accumulator, mate?
I like Nantes. The trouble is that with Lille, they're going for the title, and they're in touching distance of winning the French league. But Paris Saint-Germain are right down the back of their necks at the top of the table with 2 games to go. And Alex Ferguson says squeaky bum time. I think for Lille. It's going to be squeaky bum time. I think they're going to feel the pressure of Paris Saint-Germain, and some twists and turns could happen. But on paper, yeah, you would think they would win. But I think that race for the title in France is going to be very intriguing. And I think Lille, who've never really been in this position for a long time, with Paris Saint-Germain, the mighty Paris Saint-Germain breathing down their necks, could see an extra. I wouldn't be rushing to bet them at minus money. That really short odds on.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Wouldn't it just be great to see a nice smaller team get over one of these? What do you call them? European Super League giants, eh?
Exactly.
Your next one, mate, Bordeaux and Lens. You're keeping us in France.
Yeah, I am, and Bordeaux are a side that are in massive trouble, both on and off the pitch. Their top flight survival is really hanging by a thread here. I mean, their form has been absolutely diabolical since they've had some big problems. The club's in administration. Players have been unpaid. A lot of players are refusing to play for the last few weeks. And obviously, since those problems, their performance and their data on the pitch have been absolutely, that of a relegation threatened side. They looked as though they may be safe. They thought they might be safe. But the problem is that Nantes at the bottom of the table have started to win. So Bordeaux have now been dragged into a huge relegation battle in France. And they look like they could go down. They've lost 6 of their last 7 matches. Their only win was a narrow one against Rennes. It was a match that I think I tipped up Rennes to win. But the game was changed because there was a sending off after 9 minutes for Rennes. And they played the whole game with 10 men, and Bordeaux just hang on for a 1-0 win. Since these problems have sort of materialised about the club not paying bills and administration, they've won 2 of their last 17 matches. And a defeat here with the result and other results could see them in the bottom 3 heading into the last game of the season. Lens, on the other hand, they've lost their last 2 matches, but they were against Lille and Paris Saint-Germain, the top 2 in France. Prior to that, they were on a 14-match unbeaten run in France, and beating a lot of teams in the bottom half of the table. And, a lot of players, people will turn around and say, well, what's the motivation for a lot of these sides? Well, the motivation for Lens is absolutely massive, because they're just 1 point behind Marseille in a race for the Europa League spot. So if they win Marseille with 2 games to go, so Lens are well up for this game. They really, and I was staggered that they were odds against. I was staggered. They were, so they were 21-20, which is 2.05, I think, on decimal. And I was amazed. I thought they'd be like 1.9 or 1.85. I mean, I couldn't understand it. I think maybe because they looked at the last 2 matches being defeats. But Bordeaux are in crisis. I mean, proper crisis. They're a club that are just going nowhere fast, and there's none of the players got any will to play for the side. They're not being paid, and they're in the battle now with 2 games to go to stay in the French league. What motivation or what any aspiration has any of these players got? To fight for a cause where they're not getting paid. So I think Lens odds against. I mean, plus 205 is a huge bet. I've bet it. I've actually bet it this morning. I'd be staggered if it stays that price come kickoff time. These are Sunday night, 8 o'clock UK time. These matches, all the games in France are Sunday 8 o'clock.
Yeah, so still got a little bit of time before these ones kick off compared to some of the other picks we've had today. I just got the odds up on the screen. You can still get 205 at a few places there. Unibet, Mansion, Betfred, the exchanges. I'll see if I can find anything here quickly on the TradeMate site. 5 Dimes, Pinnacle at 204. So, look, you've got the odds are well and truly available there. Maybe it just hasn't shifted yet because it's still quite early in the week. So might want to jump on sooner rather than later. Terrific stuff from you this week, mate. That's your 3 games done and dusted. But just to finish up, I'll do my best again and read out George's last pick for today. He's taken me to Germany. So he's gone Schalke versus Eintracht Frankfurt. Eintracht are just a point behind Dortmund, who occupy the last Champions League spot currently. Dortmund face a tough trip to Mainz. Frankfurt are the 3rd highest goal scorers with 63 goals and face a Schalke side in absolute disarray. Conceded 82 goals this season. Just incredible. Schalke are conceding on average 2.58 goals per game this season and have failed to beat any side in the top half this season, home or away. Schalke is missing up to 9 players for this tie, whereas Frankfurt can call on the majority of their stars as they look to jump back into the Champions League spots. And in the reverse fixture, Frankfurt won 3 goals to 1. Now, his pick here, he's going to the Asian handicaps here, and he's found a bit of an outlier here from Bet Victor. I'll just get it up on my screen. He likes Frankfurt minus 2 goals. So if Frankfurt win by 2 goals, it'll be a push. If they win by more than that, the bet will win. Frankfurt minus 2, you can get it 2.05 on Bet Victor, 2.04 on Bet365 there. So that's George's last pick, and I guess the last pick for the podcast, mate. Any final comments on? I feel like I put a better effort there in terms of George's statement. What do you reckon?
You put a better effort in than George. You turned up, so you definitely put a better effort in than him. I think the argument again is solid. It's a solid argument. My only problem again is that Eintracht Frankfurt all they need to do is win. I mean, a win is job done, and then they go into the final day of the season hoping that Dortmund drop points. So, and they're 10 goals adrift in the goal difference of Dortmund. So I can't see them making up 10 goals in 2 games. If they were 2 goals adrift or 3 goals adrift on goal difference, I'd turn around and say, yeah, they'll kick on or could win 3 or 4. That would be my only reservation here. But yeah, I think they'll win, and I think they'll win. Wouldn't surprise me to see it be a push toe, but yeah, I can't disagree with that. He's done all the hard work.
Yeah. All right. Nice. Yeah, we just got a little comment here from. Sorry, I'm just struggling to see. My eyes aren't doing the best for me today. Stu Mick, he says Frankfurt and 4 goals in the match is good value. Schalke, desperate idiots, even if they put up a fight. That and Ganolans to get booked versus Real. Casemiro will piss him off. Well, there we go.
Your missus
is this your son or is this your son, mate? He's come in fired up.
My son? No, it's not my son. No. But I was saying, you're the only one with bad eyes in the family. The missus who said yes to you must have bad eyes as well.
Touche, mate. All right, let's finish things off with with your best bet of the weekend, mate, and then we'll get to the quiz question.
I like them all, but I will go for Nantes -1 as the bet of the week against an abysmal Dijon side. Nantes need to win at the bottom of the French league to get out the relegation zone. They're banging form. A Dijon side who just lose every single week, not for nothing. So Nantes -1.
There he goes. He's gone for the smallest odds. So he hasn't gone for the big play there. But anyway, I won't say much more about that. If you'd like to follow this beautiful man that you see on your screen, or to the right of your screen, sorry, at Seeley_Nigel. Obviously, go and follow George too, even though he hasn't showed up, at CGeorgeGamble, and go and check out premiersportsplays.com. As Nigel mentioned earlier, exciting times coming up for Premier Sports Plays with the addition. He's actually gone and hired George. I mean, the website's hit an all-time low.
Let me say, mate. Hang on 1 second. These are all the begging letters that he sent me.
The what, sorry?
All the letters he sent me begging me for a job. I've had to give him a chance, haven't I? I've had to give him a chance.
Oh, mate, someone has to. He does do a good job, but I mean, it's getting a bit desperate, isn't it? All right, which player in the EPL has missed the most big chances this season? Maybe we'll give everyone a chance to send in your picks really quickly. I've got a few options for everyone. Timo Werner, Patrick Bamford.
That was my pick. That was my
what Timo Werner was?
One who I first thought of, yeah.
Okay, so you got Timo Werner, Patrick Bamford, Mo Salah, or Jamie Vardy. So there's the 4 options. Maybe we'll give everyone a little bit of time to send in their picks, but maybe we can fill the air for a little bit. Nigel, what's the plans for the weekend, mate?
I'm going to the FA Cup final, Alex.
The FA Cup final's on this weekend.
On Saturday. You've missed it, yeah.
Oh, who knew, mate? I didn't realise there was an FA Cup without Arsenal in the final.
Chelsea against Leicester, and I'm going to the FA Cup final on Saturday. I'm one of the lucky few who's been asked to go via Wembley. Test it, so I'm going. Me and a friend of mine are going to the cup final.
We should have talked about that game. I didn't even know it was on, mate.
Yeah, to be fair, it hasn't taken. I mean, the Premier League games are now bigger than the FA Cup final, but yeah, I'm off to Wembley. So I think there's going to be 22,000 fans there. So that'd be quite interesting.
Yeah. Any takes on that one, mate?
Mate, I'm not going to have a bet. I'm just going to meet my mate up at 11 o'clock in the boozer and get right on a good old session on a Saturday afternoon, because I've missed that for a long time being in lockdown. So I won't be having any bets. I'll just be having a few beers and having a laugh.
Yeah, we'll get the odds up on the screen for everyone, for anyone who's
put it up. Obviously, I can get it for you here, but obviously Chelsea, going to be decent favourites. But in the 90 minutes, they're 1.97. Leicester are 4.3 and the draw 3.7. But to win the cup itself, Chelsea are 152 and Leicester are 286. Both of them, though, you can make cases against the two of them, because obviously Chelsea trying to get in Champions League football, not certain about that. Lost last night against Arsenal, and obviously with their European Cup final against Manchester City, which is their priority. And obviously we've got Leicester, who are involved in a massive fight for Champions League football as well. So it looks like a game that no one will want to win. I think it could be.
Sorry? I was going to say that Chelsea. I was watching the Chelsea Arsenal game this morning. I would not read into that at all if I was following Chelsea.
What I'm trying to say to you is that it's not the FA Cup is a big day for them, but it's the Champions League is their main priority in Champions League football. And for Leicester, the same thing. I think the FA Cup is secondary. They want to get in the chat, keep that top four finish. That's what they want to do. The one thing I would probably have a lean towards, I think it could be quite an open game, actually. I think that Leicester are a much better side in the Cup, much more open. They're a much better team away on the road in the Premier League than they are at home. They go out and attack. Vardy's a danger of his pace, as we know. Maddison creates lots of opportunities. And they look a much better side in the Cup, in that kind of style one-off game. And I think Chelsea will probably have a go. I mean, Tuchel's obviously been so defensively strong, but I think the odds on the over 2.5 goals are sort of 2.3. I don't think it's that much difference between over and under. So I'd probably have a slight lean towards over 2.5 goals.
All right, nice. All right, no one ended up answering the quiz question.
George would do it.
Classic. Anyway, yeah, no, George tuned out. Obviously, he got very bored me reading his little scripts. But mate, you're actually wrong.
Well, he was my. You give me when you had all the players in the Premier League to choose from without giving you the front four. I went for Vern, and that was my first pick. But out of the four that you said, I'm going to go for Mo Salah.
No, Bamford, mate. It was by a few goals too. I think he's missed. It was like 21 or 23, something like that. Big chances missed this season, which I was in. I've barely watched any Leeds, obviously, but I was just. It's just interesting because most people are saying he's had a great season, but I mean, just because you miss big chances doesn't mean all that bad. It also means that at least you've been getting in position. So, yeah, there you go. Interesting stuff.
Well, that'll make my day. Now I know that. Thanks very much.
Yeah, no, you're right, mate. All right, next podcast coming up for everyone. I don't even know why I put this in every time, but I guess it'll be next. We'll be back next week sometime, Thursday or Friday, to go through next weekend's fixtures. Bit of a weird time at the moment. I assume next weekend will probably be the last round of the EPL, and then we'll have the Champions League and Europa League after that.
Europe, it's everything. Your EPL, Spain, Germany, the lot.
Yeah, so we should have you covered next week. But other than that, thanks for listening, everyone. Do a quick rate and review of the podcast if you can. Subscribe while you're on the channel at the moment. Hit the like button, would be much appreciated. And if you're looking to implement some of the strategies we talked about today, more so the value betting ones, start a free week trial of TradeMate Sports and start your value betting journey. Nigel, terrific stuff, mate. You've come back on fire, and we'll see you very soon.
Take care, mate. All the best. Let's all pray and our thoughts for George and his toothache.